Genetically modified foods were first put on the market in the early 1990s. Typically, genetically modified foods were transgenic plants, products such as soybean, corn, canola, and cottonseed oil.
GM crops can be produced to be pest resistant. They are given the genetic ability to produce Bt, a toxin found in soil bacterium that repels certain insects. They can also be produced to be herbicide resistant. This means farmers can spray to kill weeds without affecting crops. GM varieties of pest-protected and herbicide-tolerant crops have resulted in reductions in chemical use, boosted yields, and saved growers tens of millions of dollars. The future for GM crops is full of potential. Cold-tolerant and drought-resistant crops could ensure seasonal harvests. Additional vitamins and minerals could boost nutritional values. GM crops could improve economic, health, and social benefits for populations dependent on agriculture in developing countries.
One concern with the production of GM crops is the risk of allergic reactions associated with the transfer of genes. If a protein from one food is incorporated into another, dangerous reactions could result in people with allergies. Another concern with the use of GM crops is the possible transfer of antibiotic resistance. GM crops are created using marker genes for resistance to certain antibiotics in the development of the crop. These genes could confer antibiotic resistance to humans, and the consumption of GM foods could change the makeup of human digestive systems and increase the risk of infections which are resistant to antibiotics.
Through gene flow or gene escape, genes from GM crops can pass on to other members of the same species or other species. The favorable genetic alterations are selected for future generations, and the GMO varietals eventually come to make up a greater proportion of the total population of the given species. The increased use of GM crops could also hasten the evolution of pests resistant to these defenses conferred by the implanted genes. The result would be a continually increasing proportion of the species population showing lessened susceptibility, in this case to the beneficial protection of genetic modifications. Also, herbicide-resistant genes could transfer from the crops to the weeds, creating herbicide-resistant superweeds. To prevent such resistance, the EPA requires farmers to plant 20% of their fields with non-GM crop to serve as a refuge